What if I told you that intelligence, the kind that truly changes your life, isn't about books, degrees, or even knowledge itself, but about power? Imagine if centuries ago, one man had already uncovered a hidden blueprint for mastering human behavior, influence, and control. That man was Niccolò Machiavelli, the political thinker whose name still echoes through history as both feared and admired. His ideas are often called ruthless, even dangerous, but they continue to shape how leaders rise, how empires are built, and how individuals outsmart entire systems. The question is, are you ready to see the world the way Machiavelli saw it? Because once you do, you'll never look at intelligence the same way again. Think about it. How often have you felt that those who succeed aren't necessarily the smartest in a traditional sense, but the ones who know how to play the game? You've probably witnessed it in your workplace, in politics, or even in relationships. The person who knows how to control perception, to stay 2 steps ahead, to move with precision, that's the one who wins. Have you ever felt outplayed by someone who just seemed to know exactly what to say or do at the right moment? What you're about to discover may explain why. Machiavelli's lessons are not comfortable. They're not designed to make you feel safe or validated. They're designed to make you alert, sharp, and dangerously smart. That's why his work, The Prince, has survived for centuries as a manual of strategy and human psychology. It's not about being cruel for the sake of cruelty. It's about understanding that power, respect, and survival often require more than kindness and good intentions. And whether you admit it or not, you've already seen this truth in action. Stay with me, because the principles we're about to explore could change how you move in every part of your life. They'll show you how perception can outweigh reality, how fear can sometimes create more stability than love, and how adaptability can turn chaos into opportunity. These are not abstract ideas locked in the past. They are alive in every decision, every negotiation, every interaction you face today. So, if you've ever wondered why some people always seem to come out on top, why they rise above the rest with an edge that feels almost unfair, keep watching. The answers may surprise you. And as we step into Machiavelli's world, you're about to uncover 8 ruthless lessons that could make you dangerously smart. And as you let these ideas settle in, I want to pause for a moment and ask you something important. What does all of this stir inside you? Have you ever been in a situation where you saw these principles playing out, where power, perception, or strategy outweighed pure intelligence or good intentions? Share that with me in the comments below. Your experiences, your thoughts, your perspective, they add another layer of wisdom to this conversation, and often, what you write resonates with someone else watching. That's how we create not just a video, but a community of people who are searching for deeper truths together. If this message is already striking something inside you, take a second to like this video. It may seem small, but it tells me, and it tells the platform, that what we're building here matters, and that these timeless lessons deserve to be seen by more people. And if you're new here, or if you've been listening quietly for a while, consider subscribing. Every time you join in, you're not just following another channel, you're becoming part of a movement to bring back wisdom that has the power to change how we think, how we act, and how we live. So, if this feels right to you, leave your comment, hit that like button, and subscribe so you won't miss what's coming next. Because this journey into Machiavelli's world is only beginning, and the lessons ahead grow even more intense. Perception is a strange thing. It's not what is real, but what people believe to be real. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He saw that truth often hides in the shadows, while appearances shine in the spotlight, shaping decisions, emotions, and even entire societies. Think about it. How often do people choose a leader, a partner, or even a product not because of its actual substance, but because of how it appears to them? The polished speech, the confident posture, the well-crafted image, these can outweigh the raw facts beneath. That's the hidden power Machiavelli revealed. If you can control perception, you can control reality. This doesn't mean lying or fabricating every detail of your life. It means mastering the art of presentation, knowing how to reveal enough to inspire trust while concealing what could weaken your position. It's the silent game of appearances, where strength, certainty, and clarity often matter more than complexity or vulnerability. In the workplace, for example, the person who speaks with calm authority, even if uncertain inside, will often be trusted more than the one who reveals every doubt. In relationships too, perception shapes respect. If you carry yourself with confidence and self-value, Others respond to that energy long before they understand your true depth. The impact of perception is everywhere. In politics, leaders stage grand speeches not to share truth, but to project power. In business, brands design their image so carefully that customers buy into a story rather than just a product. And in your personal journey, perception becomes the filter through which others decide whether to follow you, challenge you, or ignore you. The truth may whisper in the background, but appearances shout in the foreground, and that's what people hear first. Now, I want to go even deeper into this. When you begin to shape perception consciously, you start transforming not just how others see you, but how you see yourself. Confidence isn't only a mask. It can become a muscle you train through action, presentation, and awareness. You begin to step into the hidden layers of influence where decisions turn in your favor because you've learned to direct the spotlight instead of standing passively under it. This is the psychological battlefield Machiavelli was describing, and its lessons carry an impact far beyond politics. They reach into the daily fabric of our lives, into the way we move, speak, and choose. So let me ask you, does this truth resonate with your own experience? Write it in the comments with the words, "This makes sense to me," and let's see how many of us are walking this same path of discovery. Machiavelli's most quoted and most misunderstood lesson is this: it is safer to be feared than loved. At first glance, it sounds cold, even cruel. But if you go deeper, you'll see that he wasn't glorifying tyranny. He was revealing a hidden truth about human nature. Love is powerful, yes, but it's fragile. It depends on emotions, moods, and circumstances that change with time. Fear, on the other hand, has weight. It commands attention, establishes boundaries, and creates stability where affection alone might falter. Machiavelli wasn't asking leaders to be monsters. He was urging them to be respected above all else. Think about your own life. Have you ever tried to lead or guide others by relying only on kindness, only to discover that people take advantage of your generosity? When people feel only love, they may grow comfortable, entitled, even careless. But when respect, sometimes mixed, with a trace of fear, is present, they hesitate before crossing a line. That hesitation creates order. It's not about spreading terror, it's about sending a clear message. Your words have weight, your presence has authority, and your boundaries are not up for negotiation. Fear in this sense is not the enemy of love. It's the backbone that makes love stronger. A parent who only seeks to be loved by their child may lose authority. A boss who only seeks to be liked by employees may lose respect. But when respect is firmly rooted, affection, trust, and loyalty can grow on solid ground. Machiavelli understood this dynamic centuries ago, and it still shapes leadership, relationships, and society today. Now I want to go even deeper into this idea, because it challenges the way we think about power and connection. Many people believe that to be admired, you must always please others. Yet the truth is, admiration often comes from a balance of closeness and distance, kindness and firmness. When people sense that you cannot be easily manipulated, their respect for you increases. And when respect is present, the love that remains becomes more genuine, because it's not built on weakness, it's built on strength. So here's my question for you. Have you ever experienced a moment where being respected mattered more than being liked? Write in the comments the words, "respect before love," if this truth speaks to your own journey. Timing is everything. Machiavelli knew that opportunities rarely arrive dressed in certainty. They appear suddenly, often disguised as risk or even chaos. The difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck isn't always intelligence or resources. It's the ability to act at the right moment. Fortune, as Machiavelli described, is like a river that floods and retreats. If you prepare your channels in advance, you can harness its force. If you hesitate, the current sweeps everything away. This lesson is as relevant today as it was centuries ago, because in every era, hesitation is the silent killer of progress. Think about how many times in life you've paused just a little too long. Maybe it was an opportunity to speak up in a meeting, to invest in an idea, to approach someone who could change your future. In those moments, doubt creeps in and whispers, "Wait, think more, maybe later." But later often never comes. Meanwhile, someone else steps forward, takes the risk, and reaps the reward. That's the ruthless truth Machiavelli was pointing to. Fortune favors the bold, not the hesitant. But mastering timing isn't just about being fast. It's about cultivating awareness, sharpening your instincts, and recognizing when hesitation serves wisdom and when it serves fear. In strategy, as in life, there are windows that open briefly and then vanish. Leaders, entrepreneurs, even ordinary people who thrive are those who sense the rhythm of these openings and move decisively. Waiting for absolute certainty is often just another way of hiding from responsibility. Now imagine applying this lesson to your own journey. What would change if you trained yourself to recognize the hidden signals of opportunity, the tone in someone's voice, the shift in a market, the sudden clarity in your own thoughts? Acting with precision doesn't mean reckless jumps. It means striking while the conditions align, before doubt builds its walls. Machiavelli believed that fortune tests the brave, and in truth, every decision you delay is a decision you hand over to someone else. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because timing is not just about opportunities, it's also about transformation. It's about knowing when to step out of the shadows, when to speak truth, when to hold back, and when to risk everything. And it's in this delicate balance that true power begins to take shape. Machiavelli understood something that still makes people uncomfortable today. Rigid ideals can become a prison. He saw how rulers who clung too tightly to abstract notions of virtue or morality often fell victim to those who were more flexible, more pragmatic, and more willing to bend when reality demanded it. His lesson was simple yet ruthless. Pragmatism beats ideals. Not because ideals are worthless, but because life rarely obeys them. When the world shifts, when circumstances break expectations, it is not the noble dreamer who survives, but the one who adapts. We like to imagine that consistency in belief is strength, but Machiavelli exposed the hidden weakness in that idea. What good is loyalty to an ideal if it blinds you to truth? What value is rigid morality if it leaves you powerless when others exploit your predictability? History is filled with leaders who spoke of honor and justice, while their rivals quietly built alliances, reshaped strategies, and took decisive action. The dreamers spoke beautifully, but they lost. The survivors acted practically, even if their actions were uncomfortable or unpopular. This doesn't mean abandoning all principles or becoming cold and heartless. What Machiavelli suggests is balance. Hold ideals in your heart, but don't let them chain your hands. True wisdom is knowing when to follow principle and when to adjust course. It's about recognizing that outcomes often matter more than intentions. After all, will your legacy be measured by the purity of what you wanted to do, or by the impact of what you actually achieved? In daily life, this lesson plays out more often than we realize. Maybe you faced a decision where doing what looked good wasn't the same as doing what truly worked. Perhaps you held back from speaking a hard truth because you feared judgment, only to watch the problem grow worse. Or maybe you've seen someone at work rise quickly, not because they were the most virtuous, but because they were pragmatic enough to adapt when everyone else clung to comfort. These moments reveal the power of ruthless practicality. It cuts through illusions and demands results. Now I want to go even deeper into this, because when you embrace pragmatism over rigid ideals, you begin to unlock a hidden strength. You stop living for appearances, and you start navigating reality as it is. That shift is not just strategic, it's transformational. It changes how you make decisions, how you face challenges, and how you shape the course of your own journey. Machiavelli believed that enemies are not simply obstacles to be feared or eliminated. They are tools, often more valuable than friends, because they sharpen the mind and harden the spirit. To him, rivals were not just threats, but teachers of resilience. When you have no opposition, you grow comfortable, soft, even careless. But when someone challenges you, questions you, or seeks to undermine you, something inside awakens. Your instincts sharpen, your strategies refine, and your intelligence evolves under pressure. An enemy in this sense is an uninvited mentor who forces you to see what complacency would otherwise hide. Think about moments in your own life when conflict pulled something greater out of you. Maybe it was a colleague who underestimated you, pushing you to prove your worth. Or perhaps it was criticism that stung. But in that sting, you found the fuel to improve, to adjust, to rise above. These are not pleasant experiences, but they are transformative ones. Without resistance, there is no strength. Without friction, no fire. Machiavelli saw this truth clearly. Avoiding enemies might give you peace, but engaging with them intelligently gives you power. Using enemies does not mean descending into constant battle. It means learning to observe them, to study their moves, to understand their motives. In doing so, you gain a mirror, for your own weaknesses and a map of hidden opportunities. A rival reveals where your defenses are fragile, where your strategy is incomplete, where your confidence is still uncertain. And by forcing you to confront those gaps, they give you the chance to evolve faster than comfort ever could. This lesson reaches beyond politics or war. It touches every area of life. In business, competition drives innovation. In relationships, disagreements can strengthen clarity and honesty. In personal growth, the very obstacles you wish away are often the ones carving out your true character. Enemies, as Machiavelli saw them, are part of the natural order. They keep us awake, alert, and alive. Now I want to go even deeper into this, because once you stop fearing the presence of enemies and start learning from them, you step into a new dimension of strength. Conflict stops being chaos and instead becomes a forge, a place where your will, your intelligence, and your resilience are tested and transformed. Machiavelli understood a paradox that unsettles many people even today. You don't have to actually be virtuous. You just need to appear virtuous. To him, the image of goodness was often more powerful than goodness itself. Why? Because human beings are moved by what they see, not by what lies hidden in the private chambers of your mind. If you can project an aura of honesty, loyalty, and compassion, people will trust you, follow you, and support you, even if, behind the curtain, you are calculating every move with precision. This isn't hypocrisy, it is strategy. Machiavelli knew that appearing virtuous gives you the freedom to act without suspicion, to maneuver with subtlety, while others lower their guard. Think of how this plays out. In everyday life, a leader who speaks of justice and fairness may gain the loyalty of the crowd, even while negotiating hard deals in secret. A business owner who appears generous and community-driven may win customers' trust, even while making ruthless choices to stay ahead of competitors. And in personal relationships, those who project patience, kindness, and understanding often gain influence, even if their inner motives are more complex. The appearance creates a shield of credibility that reality alone cannot provide. But here's where the paradox deepens. The act of appearing virtuous can, over time, shape behavior. When you consistently project discipline, honesty, or confidence, you may start to embody pieces of those qualities, even if at first they were a mask. In this way, strategy and self-transformation intertwine. What begins as performance can harden into identity, giving you both influence over others and mastery over yourself. This does not mean abandoning morality entirely. It means recognizing the truth that perception carries weight, and that being seen as trustworthy often matters more than whether every action you take is perfectly pure. The world is not kind to those who expose every flaw openly. People want symbols to believe in, faces to admire, leaders who seem consistent, even if the reality is far more complex. Machiavelli's brilliance was in showing that by managing appearances, you gain the leverage to act strategically when it truly matters. Now I want to go even deeper into this, because once you grasp the difference between virtue as reality and virtue as perception, you begin to unlock the hidden mechanics of influence. And in that space, power takes on a new shape, subtle, strategic, and far more enduring than blind sincerity could ever offer. Loyalty is one of the most fragile currencies in human affairs. Machiavelli observed, with unflinching clarity, that people are loyal only as long as it serves their self-interest. The moment circumstances shift, the moment another option appears more profitable, safer, or more rewarding, that loyalty can vanish. He wasn't cynical for the sake of cynicism, he was simply honest about the hidden mechanics of human behavior. Relying on loyalty alone, he argued, is a dangerous illusion. If you want stability, you must build structures of power, secure resources, and create leverage that binds people to you in ways deeper than mere promises. Think about your own experiences. How many times have you trusted someone's word, only to be disappointed when their actions didn't align? Maybe it was a friend who swore they would stand by you but disappeared when things got difficult, or perhaps a colleague who promised loyalty until a better offer came along. These moments sting because they remind us that loyalty is not permanent, it is conditional. Machiavelli would say the mistake wasn't in the betrayal itself, but in the expectation that loyalty could endure without reinforcement. The lesson is simple but ruthless. Build systems, not hopes. A leader doesn't secure loyalty by speeches or handshakes alone. They secure it by creating environments where loyalty aligns with self-interest, where staying committed brings reward and leaving brings consequence. In politics, this might mean securing alliances with shared benefits that make betrayal costly. In business, it could mean designing contracts, incentives, or partnerships that tie success together. And in personal life, it's about setting boundaries, cultivating respect, and ensuring that people know your value is not easily replaced. What makes this principle powerful is not just the protection it provides, but the clarity it brings. When you stop expecting unconditional loyalty, you stop being blindsided by disappointment. You start to see the truth. Loyalty lasts only as long as it is supported by structures of power and mutual benefit. With this perspective, betrayal becomes less of a shock and more of a predictable variable you can prepare for. Now I want to go even deeper into this, because when you learn to shift your focus from promises to structures, from words to leverage, you step into a new level of control. It is here that influence becomes lasting, because it is rooted not in fleeting emotions, but in the unshakable foundation of power itself. For Machiavelli, intelligence was never about memorizing books, collecting theories, or clinging to rigid formulas. To him, true intelligence was the ability to adapt, to bend without breaking, to shift when the ground moves, to find opportunity in chaos. He saw that the world is not stable, that power, fortune, and human behavior change constantly. Those who survive and thrive are not the ones who know the most, but the ones who adjust the fastest. Adaptability, then, is the highest form of wisdom, because it allows you to stay effective no matter how uncertain the landscape becomes. Look around, and you'll see this principle everywhere. The businesses that endure are not those that cling to tradition at all costs, but those that reinvent themselves when markets change. The leaders who remain relevant are not those who repeat the same speeches, but those who reshape their message to match the times. Even in personal life, adaptability defines strength. The people who collapse in the face of unexpected hardship are not necessarily weaker or less intelligent. They simply lack the capacity to pivot. But those who rise again, who reimagine their path, who learn from the storm and adjust their sails, those are the ones who embody what Machiavelli meant by dangerous intelligence. Adaptation is not easy because it requires letting go of certainty. It demands humility, the willingness to admit that yesterday's answers may not solve today's problems. It demands courage, the resolve to act in the unknown, to make decisions without guarantees. And it demands creativity, the ability to see patterns and possibilities where others only see chaos. Yet when you cultivate these qualities, you become untouchable. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstance because you can bend with it and turn it to your advantage. This lesson carries a hidden liberation. Once you realize that intelligence is about adaptation, you free yourself from the illusion that you must always have everything figured out. You stop waiting for perfect conditions and start moving with the reality at hand. That is the ruthless beauty of Machiavelli's wisdom. It doesn't promise comfort, but it arms you with resilience. Now I want to go even deeper into this because adaptability is not only a survival skill, it is the very foundation of transformation. And when you embrace it fully, you begin to see change not as an enemy, but as the raw material from which power and possibility are forged. When you step back and look at these 8 lessons together, you begin to see the outline of something far greater than simple advice. What Machiavelli left behind is not a manual for cruelty, but a framework for survival, influence, and mastery in a world that is unpredictable and often unforgiving. These principles do not make you dangerous because they fill your head with abstract knowledge. They make you dangerous because they sharpen your mind into a weapon of strategy. They push you beyond the comfort of ideals, beyond the illusions of loyalty or love alone, and into the reality of how power truly works. Consider the transformation that takes place when you live by these ideas. You learn to shape perception, understanding that appearances can shift reality itself. You balance love with respect, knowing that fear, in its disciplined form, creates stability where affection may falter. You master timing, striking not when it feels safe, but when the moment demands courage. You embrace pragmatism, letting go of rigid ideals that blind you to truth. You use enemies as mirrors and mentors, discovering resilience in the fire of opposition. You project virtue while acting with strategy, gaining trust without sacrificing freedom. You stop depending on loyalty alone and instead build structures of power that last. And finally, you cultivate adaptability, the crown of intelligence, enabling you to thrive no matter how chaotic life becomes. These are not just lessons from the dusty pages of history. They are revelations about human behavior that still apply in boardrooms, in politics, in personal relationships, and in the quiet choices you make every day. They show that intelligence is not about the size of your library, but about the sharpness of your awareness, the discipline of your choices, and the strength of your adaptability. To be dangerously smart is to see the hidden patterns others ignore, to act with precision while others hesitate, and to walk into uncertainty with the confidence of someone who knows the rules of the game. Now, I want to go even deeper into this, because the power of Machiavelli's wisdom is not only in what it teaches about others, but in how it transforms the way you see yourself. And it's in that shift, when you stop living as a passive observer and start moving as a strategist, that true intelligence begins to ignite. So now the question turns to you. Which of Machiavelli's ruthless lessons struck you the hardest? Was it the power of perception, the balance of fear and love, or perhaps the idea that adaptability is the highest form of intelligence? Comment below with the one you feel is the most powerful, because your perspective not only adds to the conversation, it inspires others who are walking this same journey. And if these ideas opened your mind, remember, this is only the beginning. There are countless truths from history's greatest thinkers, Jung, Nietzsche, Kierkegaard, and more, that we are uncovering here. So subscribe now and stay with me on this path, as together we continue unlocking dangerous wisdom that sharpens the mind, strengthens the spirit, and transforms the way we face life. If you've stayed with me until the very end, that tells me something. You value this kind of wisdom as much as I do. So make sure you're subscribed, because each week we go even deeper into the minds of history's greatest thinkers, uncovering ideas that sharpen how we live today. And I'd love to know you made it here. Drop a comment with the words, "I'm here until the end," so I can see who's truly walking this path with me. If this message connected with you, give this video a like. It's a simple way to keep this conversation alive and growing. And don't stop here. There's another video right next to this one that continues unfolding these ideas. Click on it and let's keep moving forward together.